All right, so for the next little while here, probably an hour or two, we're going to go through how to make this document accessible. And I thought I'd record this video because I wanted to show more than just me doing the work, but actually what's going on and why there are some barriers. Now, I won't go through everything, but I do want to point out a few things initially. So the first thing we can see here is we want to walk the tags tree, which means we want to go through the tags and figure out what is being selected and how it's being read. And the first thing we can see here is we've got this empty selection tag. We're just going to delete that. And what we would think we have here is the figure tag for the body of the report. And if we go to the properties of it, we see campaign people's icon. Now, I got to believe that's this big icon in the back, and that's fine. But then we have artifact, 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 and artifact, which do not belong in the tags tree. Artifacts are simply decorative items and are not, should not be deemed an artifact. And this is usually because someone went in and did mark as decorative inside Acrobat, and Acrobat will mistakenly add these artifact tags. And if we look in the content panel, if we go to this object here and we go show in content panel, we just want to double check. And now see how it says container figure shading, right? So that tells me that this really isn't an artifact. It's not specifically set to an artifact. This one up here is, it says container artifact shading, but these other ones are just containers with figures in them. And so even though this says that it's artifact, it really isn't. So what we need to do is we need to go to edit role map and look and see what artifact is set to. And artifact is not in here, which is fine. We're going to go ahead and hit OK. Now we're going to change these properties to figure, because that's what it should have been. Because we cannot make an artifact tag out of something that's already an artifact. So now that we've got these, we can right click on them. We have to do each one, and we can go in here, open those up, go to each one. Actually, let's look at that. That's the World Health Organization logo and the UNICEF logo. So these, in fact, are all the decorative items. We're going to right click and hit change to artifact. Now, when we do this, you'll notice all of these containers should disappear. They do, right? And so now we can just delete those content items. We missed one here. This one just says shading, and that's the one that says campaign people's icon. So we're going to go ahead and leave that one. Right? So now we're gonna walk through this, and we see, so the first thing the person's gonna hear is campaign people's icon. Then they're gonna hear World Health Organization logo if the properties are set, and that says UNICEF logo. So that's the wrong alt text for the wrong image. So we're gonna cut that, and World Health Organization logo. And then we're going to go ahead and select this other one, and we see that it's mislabeled, but we copied that other one, so now we can hit paste. And now they are, in fact, that one's World Health and this one's UNICEF. They are the right logos. We hit OK. Now, Global Report on Assistive Technology, that's the title. And our title should be an H1, but yet it's specified it's a paragraph tag here. So we're going to go ahead and make that an H1. Now we have this article, which happens to be all these artifacts of all these gradient objects. And we just want to double check. These two little icons down here need to come out, because we in fact do want someone to know that the AT scale and the AT 2030 logos are there. The rest of these, we're going to follow the same suit as we did before. We're going to open each one of these. We have to get to the content object in order to mark these as an artifact, right? So we're going to do that. And then we're going to select each one. And of course I deselected on accident. This is why you have to be careful where you click. And this is the problem where selecting multiples let you do it in one shot, but as long as you don't deselect something, you're okay. So now we're going to select that and select this last one, right click, change tag to artifact, hit OK, let it do its thing. And right now it's just assigning it a a name of artifact and moving it to the content panel. And then we can delete that tag. So now we need to check the alt text for each of these logos. That's the AT30 logo, 2030 logo, and the AT scale logo, right? And that is fine. So we're going to leave those two. Now we need to be paying attention to the page numbers. So we were on that page and now we're on this page. And so we're going to select this and go into it and see, in fact, all of these are marked as paragraph. There's really nothing wrong with having these marked as a paragraph item. They're just fine the way they are. So we can leave this section alone, but I don't need it in a separate article. I'm going to move it out. Now this next one, we're going to go back into our properties and we get World Health, and then we get UNICEF. Those are correctly applied. And then this next one should again be the H1 tag, right? Because it is the title of the report. So we have Global Report on Assistive Technology on page III, and then we have Global Report on Assistive Technology on the cover. And it's okay to have the two different H1s because they're considered anchors, right? And we want to have anchors inside our document that gives the content structure and allows people using assistive technology to be able to move through the document in a logical way that makes sense. And we have AT scale and we have AT 2030. So here's the thing. We have an exact copy. This page to someone using assistive technology is the exact same as this page here. We have both the logos, the title, AT scale, and AT 2030. The only difference is the this logo for the this one, which is the campaign people's icon, right? So I don't know. Personally, I probably would not have a duplicate, because someone using assistive technology is going to go, well, why do I have two of these, two cover pages? They say the exact same thing. But since it's in here twice, we're going to go ahead and leave it tagged twice. Okay. Now we're going to our next page. So when we went from page III to the next page, which is IV, we don't need to hear the same title and those same logos again, because now we're getting redundant. This would be the third time we've heard that. So we're going to go ahead and leave those as artifacts, right? We have an image here, and this image should have a description: two young women sitting in hand-propelled tricycles looking at the camera, smiling, right? Perfectly acceptable. Now, here's the attribution. So this should say copyright David Constantine. This really should be the caption, because it is an attribution to the object. But it wasn't bad that it was a paragraph tag. Now, our table of contents, we have an H1 and we have our TOC. Now, here's something to remember. These items, these colors, should meet minimum color contrast, which in this case would be 3:1. So we're going to use the color contrast checker, and we're going to look at these, and we can see that this color, in fact, does pass for large text. However, it doesn't pass for small text, for regular text. So what is regular text? Regular text is 14-point bold and below. So if we go, or 14-point regular and below, and this is 10-point type. So definitely, well, and this is only 12-point type. So theoretically, this would fail in both instances. Both levels of text would not be considered color contrast compliant. But we're not going to fix those in this document. It might mess up some other things. So for now, we're going to leave it. But we can acknowledge that we have some color contrast barriers in the document. We do have a TOC. We're going to check the reference. We have a reference with a link. That all looks fine. And I think we're okay there. We might check a few of these just to make sure. Yep, it looks like those are done correctly. So we're going to move on. Okay. So that's our TOC. The next thing we have is our figure, this figure for this image, and we can, the alt text says a teenage girl is standing and reading a piece of paper. She's wearing glasses. Next to her, a man who is also reading paper and smiling, right? That's fine. Whether or not the color of their skin is important, I don't think it is. But if it were, that might be something you'd want to add, maybe their nationality or where this is in whatever country they're in. But I think the description here is just fine. Okay. Then again, this section really should be a caption, capital C, case sensitive. We're going to drag that up under the figure. And now we have our forward. Here's our H1, figure 1 and figure 2. Let's look at the alt text there, Miss Catherine and Mr. Tedros. So both of those are what we would expect. We're going to go ahead and move those up underneath here and delete that section. We get a lot of section tags because this was done in Adobe InDesign, and every time there's a separate text box in InDesign, it creates a new section tag, right? So here we can walk through these bodies of text and they're all looking fine. We're going to go ahead and just move those out. And now we have our figure for our signatures. Now, definitely fine to signify that these are wet signatures, but since their name is right after it, and actually they included something here that they should not have. Well, no, they did. They did it correctly. Miss Catherine M. Russell signature. And that's totally fine. Then underneath here, where it repeats the name, I would have artifacted the name because we already know what that is, and simply just have the title in there as well, right? We don't need to hear those things twice. Change tag to artifact, hit OK. Delete those out. And now I'm going to put her title underneath her name and his title underneath his name. So now it reads Catherine M. Russell, UNICEF Director, Dr. Tedros, and then his title, WHO Director General, right? And then we're going to delete those empty tags. We do not want page numbers or page references tagged in these documents. These, the on-page, the in-page number is what we want to go by. We do not want to have the page numbers read twice. So we would delete this form tag. I'm not even sure why it's a form tag. So we're going to go ahead and delete those and delete the section. Now, here's an interesting page, right? So we would think that this is going to say acknowledgements and contributors, but what happens is it goes from acknowledgements over to where? Over to another H1 somewhere else. Where's that other H1? Nowhere. It's an empty tag. And then, so it goes from acknowledgements. Let's delete this empty extra container. And so now we have acknowledgements, but then it goes to contributors and reads all the contributors and then back to the acknowledgement section. So we're going to go ahead and move these up under that section tag so that now the read order is acknowledgements and then the acknowledgements, then the contributors, and the contributors, we can see that the acknowledgements is an H1, so contributors should be an H1. The problem with that is where's contributors? We can see all of these P tags, and if we were to open them all up, they're just empty garbage tags that don't have anything in them. So I'm not even sure what happened here. I think somebody might have added a bunch of hard returns to try to get some spacing, or I'm not even really sure how they were able to do this. But if we keep going down, the first real piece of content is right here. And even then, we've got all these empty container tags that are content objects that are just should not be there. Change tag to artifact. And now we just have the right content. But now we have to go through for each one of these other ones up here and do the very same thing. So why this matters is because someone using certain assistive technology is going to hear blank for every one of these container boxes. They're going to hear blank, 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 blank. or they're going to just, there's going to be no content. They're going to keep hitting the down arrow and they're going to get nothing. And so they're going to think that something's going wrong or that something's gone wrong with the document itself. So we're going to artifact all those. And there's no way to blanketly go through and find out all of these empty containers and just artifact them. You have to find them one by one and delete them. Well, create artifacts with them. If you delete them, you'll get untagged content errors. So now there are tools that would allow you to delete these on your own without having to artifact them. But I don't want to use that tool in this demo, in this video, because I don't want you to misinterpret what I'm doing. I'm just simply going through and artifacting these, making sure I get them all. All right. So that looks like I got all of these guys. Now I know that contributors is an H1. So I'm going to cheat. Since I already have some tags here, I'm going to change this one to be an H1. And with that selected, I'm going to select contributors and then right click on this and do create tag from selection. What that's going to do is it's going to separate contributors into the H1. And now I have the rest of this as paragraphs. But here's the thing. Expert advisory group, editorial committee, executive committee, contributing authors, data collection analysis. All of these are headings. So in actuality, each one of these should have its own heading group. So what I really need is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These would be H2 tags, because if this is an H1, this is a subgroup of that. So that's an H2. So now I'm going to create a new tag, H2. And then I'm going to right click and enter. It's going to allow me to quickly create a series of H2 tags until I get 7. Right? Now I'm going to make sure I have the first one selected, and I'm going to go right click on this, create tag from selection. And now expert advisory group is in that one. And then I'm going to go down here to the next H2. We need to select that tag first. And I'm just pressing R for create, and that's allowing me to so under data and collection and analysis, this is an H2, but then this one is an H3. So we want to make sure that the heading levels matter, because it allows the person to understand the hierarchy of how these things are put together, right? So we're going to name this one H3 and this one H3. And now we're going to go in here and do government survey. And this one, household survey. All right, so now that we have all of our headings set, now we've got to put all of our paragraph tags underneath it with the content that goes in them. And you can see here that in this one paragraph tag, I've got all these names. So I've got to make sure that I select the right content. So again, new tag, and this time it's going to be a paragraph tag, and then new tag, paragraph, new tag, paragraph, new tag, paragraph, on down the line. And then we're going to leave that last one because we know it goes in its own container. So now we need to figure out what this content is. So we're going to, so this first box is just that first one, and that goes inside that one. And then editorial goes inside that one, and there, and there. And then this goes in the H3, right? So it looks like we missed one. So let's double check. H2, paragraph, H2, paragraph, H2, paragraph, H2, paragraph, H2. We didn't need a paragraph tag there. We do need the H3, and there's that paragraph there. There's our H3, and there's our last paragraph there. And we just want, oh, well, that keeps going, and that's fine. So this heading holds household survey, goes all the way down through, and we got to keep going, right? So this paragraph should be an H2. Well, actually, it would be, yeah, an H2. And then this is separated. So this is a little easier. So now we can come in here and just make sure that each one of these is in fact the right one. Properties, H2, hit OK. Now all of those are changed in one shot. We couldn't do that before because they were all grouped in one container. Okay, again, we do not want page numbers to be added to the document. They are dictated by the Acrobat page number up at the top. Okay, so this section here, if we wanted to add notes, this is only to ourselves to help us keep track of what we've done and what sections control what. No screen reader will read this. It's just for our own peace of mind to be able to know where we are, right? We're going to leave the rest of that as is. This section happens to be TOC. And that article is all of that. And that's fine. All right, so now we're inside. You can see how as you move through these, it can get pretty confusing as to where you are. Abbreviations. So this section, right? These abbreviations really I mean, this is okay. It's technically accessible, but it's going to read it as a run-on. It's going to read CRC Conventions of the Rights of the Child, CRPD Convention Rights of the Person with a Disability. It's not going to have any clear differentiation between one part and the other. A table is a much better presentation for this, or a list item. So the bullet would be the LBL, the label, and then the list item would be the definition. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this. Let's see if these are all broken out. They actually are all broken out. So what I could do is make them all a list. So let's do that. So let's go ahead and make, we're going to add a bunch of LI tags. So we need one for every and we're just adding those LIs. And then now we're going to label all of these L bodies, because eventually it's just going to have the definition in there. And it's working on it right now. And then inside each one of these L bodies, we only want the definition to be in the L body. The label is the letter. So inside each of these, new LBL. And so how this will work is we need a new tag for the list. I know I'm probably losing everyone. Here's the list, our list item, our LBL goes in there, and then our L body goes in there too. And so Our LBL is the CRPD, the L body is the definition, and this is all inside the list tag. So both of these need to be inside that list. So that is one complete list item, right? But we missed the very beginning one, which is this one. So we're going to add new tag, LBL. All right. So this is going to go in there. That's going to go in there. And then new tag. All right, so now we have our first list item, which is the LBL and the L body. Our second list item, LBL, L body. Now, that's why doing this as a table would have been much easier in the beginning. Had they just simply set this up as a table, you would have abbreviation in one column and definition in the other. This would have been a lot easier given that methodology. But I'm just trying to be kind of extra here and really think about the user experience. So we're going to add that to the LBL there. And then we're going to add this one to the next LBL and on down the line. And all these tags, moving all this stuff around, it can be really easy to get confused. So we just want to double check everything every time we do any of this to make sure that we do end up with the right label with the right list, right? So now we're going to take this label and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to drag this one into that one and this one into that one. So this first one is HDI, L body for HDI. We got IFC. All right, so now we double check. IFC, international, that's right. That needs to go inside this list. Then ISO, that's right. That needs to go up. NGO. Now see, had someone planned for this, this would be no work at all. You just would simply have a table you needed to add some scope to. So that's why designing with document accessibility in mind is really important. All right, so now we're down to our next pieces. So now we're down to the UN, UNICEF, and WHO. So we need one more list tag. So that one, we're just going to move these up first. Okay, new tag, LBL. Okay, and then we're going to move the content into the right ones. So WHO goes there. UNICEF. Oh yeah. Now we got to put these in the right order. LBL, L body, LBL, L body, LBL, L body. Boom, 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 boom. And then move all three of these up into thing. Now we have a list. We double check our list. There it is, complete. And we just want to double check everything lines up, and it does. So we're good to go. So that's surgery for that. So now we have a really nice user experience there. Executive summary is an H1. So we're going to move that up. We could actually leave it inside the section tag and just call this. So we have a note of where we are. And then this paragraph, let's double check where we are. There's a P, our list looks right. We just see there's our list structure, LBL and L body, that's good. Paragraph, this should be a heading. So if this is an H2, that's an H3. If it's a visual heading on the page, it should be a visual, an associated heading inside the tags tree. So we're going to go through here and we're going to find these other ones, right? So maybe there and there. Whoops, not that one. It's there and there. And then the next one is going to be there. Properties, H3. Hit close. And now this has structure. If someone wanted to bounce from chapter heading, from section heading to section heading, they could do it with relative ease, right? And these actually should be identified in the table of contents for people to anchor to, right? Provisional doesn't need a heading just because it's orange. Neither does product. You could break those out, but we're going to leave them because it's they're not missing any information. So I'm going to move all of this up into the section tag. Again, section tags are just there for our convenience, but it helps me know where I'm at. Now I'm going to save this document because you do want to save intermittently. Just in case, right? All right, let's zoom out to see what we have selected. And it looks like it's just this page. And in this page, we've got two more H3s and an H2 that we need to set. So we're going to find those. So there's our H3, right? So there's an H3. There's an H3. Properties, H3. Hit close. And then H2. And paragraph, right? Now, we've got a figure in here, and we can see that this paragraph we got a figure nested inside a paragraph tag. Now we have to tell ourselves, is that figure meaningful or not, right? Is there something that a user would want to know about this figure? And it says a baby standing and leaning up against a slide in a park. He's wearing an ankle foot orthosis on his leg. So yes, there is something meaningful there. The fact that he's got this orthotic, right? And we've got the caption for who the photo credit, right? Which is copyright Autoblock. So we need a couple of different things. So first of all, we need a caption, right? We need to figure out, is the word, that word doesn't even look like it is selected. So we're going to create a new tag, caption. And then after the figure, we're going to select caption and then this tag and then hit R for create. And now we have that in there. And then now we're good to go. And I'm actually going to take this figure and pull it out of that paragraph so I can see it more easily. There's our H2 and our last paragraph. This section is now good to go. And in actuality, this section is part of the section above it. So we're just going to make this more compartmentalized. All right. So now we have to decide here. Recommendation 1 through all of these others. Are they considered headings? I think you could go either way. Because it's a consistent user format, because each paragraph starts with the recommendation, I'm going to go ahead and leave it as a paragraph tag because I don't think it adds anything meaningful to break out recommendation 1 from each of these paragraphs. But you could make a case that it might. You might want someone just to be able to skim the recommendations 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you would want to break it out. So let's go ahead and just take all of this up to there, and we're going to move this up, and we're going to delete the empty paragraph tags, and then just double check that we got all the content in order, and that looks right. So that's our executive summary. 12 of 140. All right, now we're down to our next article, and this is the introduction, right? And then blank section tag. There's our figure. Do we have alt text? Young girl sitting in a wheelchair. Looks like that's meaningful to me. And then we're going to look and make sure, yep, we're good to go there. We need the attribution, but that should be a caption. And then we're going to drag that up underneath there and then delete the empty section tag. And then here is our first H1. That goes up there. And then that's our body. And we're going to move that up there as well. And we just, as we cycle through these, we want to make sure, does it go in order, and are there any headings we need to respect? And in here, it actually looks as though they have marked the headings correctly. And this is because they used styles when they created it in InDesign. Okay, so we're going to go in here, and we're going to move all of these things out of this section so that we get one clear. And again, I just want to keep reiterating, the whole idea of section tags is to organize it for you, the remediator. It does not matter for assistive technology if these are set correctly. So you could just ignore the fact that the section tags and span tags are all over the place, and just treat it as is. But because this is such a large document and I want to keep track of where I'm at in case I have to stop, I do like to keep these things more compartmentalized, right? So now we're on note for terminology. So if these are H2s, what is the report is containing, then note on terminology should be an H3, right? So let's go ahead and go into here, and oh, they did it right. There's the H3, and we can bring that right up in there, and now we can delete that. And now we have this quote at the bottom here, and this can be a quote. So we can call this a quote or block quote if we want. Block quote. And there is all of our attributions. So let's go ahead and pull that back up there. And now we're good. And now we're moving on to the next part, section 1, understanding assistive technology. Okay, so I am going to change this now. I've been using section tags. Well, these have been section tags, and these have been article tags. It really doesn't matter specifically, but let's go ahead and just be consistent. Right, we'll just even be more consistent. There. And then this whole thing is in an article tag. It doesn't really need to be. Let's go ahead and just pop those out. The more tags we have in a group when we select it, the longer it takes to actually to move it. Right, so there's the rest of this. We could make a new tag here. So right now it's trying to draw it inside all of those other tags that we have. This is why kind of doing it from the beginning is more helpful, because it doesn't take as much time. So we got to wait on this a bit. Again, this is also why saving is important, because if it crashes, now you only have a little bit to go back and redo. We're just going to call this section inside. And then we're just going to grab all of this. Actually, that's the contents there. So let's call this we'll call it contents. Oh, wait, that's contents there. So this should be inside. I had it right there first time. And then these should be inside the contents. Yep, and this is all the inside. There we go. All right, article, section. This is for the forward. So we'd want a new tag here, section. And the title here, we can even put it in here, forward. That's what that's called, the title. And again, this is just so we can keep track of what's going on in our document. I'm probably going to do one more section, and then I'm just going to start recording me doing everything just without narration, just so that this will move along, and then I'll probably play this in fast speed sped up, so that we can still see the process, but just in hyperspeed here. There's forward. All right, so we've got cover, inside, contents, forward, acknowledgements, contributors, abbreviations, executive summary. We don't need this article. There's introduction, and then the introduction goes all the way through. If we select introduction, we can see that it goes all the way through to understanding assistive technology. And notice that we're missing the attribution to that thing. So we want to make sure that we get that. So let's go back and look. Where did that go? It's this article right there. So we want to break that out and bring it up in there. All right. And then again, no page number. We don't need a page number. Okay, so now this is our section for understanding. Understanding AT. All right, so now I'm just going to keep going through and doing again what I've been doing, which is look at the headers, the headings, and make sure that they're correct. I can see in this instance I'm missing part of this list, so I'm going to fix this list. Maybe we'll go through and just do this last one. All right, man sitting at sewing machine. He's wearing glasses. Okay, sure. And then we have our attribution, so this should be a caption. Because the caption lets the person know kind of, yes, this is related to the image above. So section 1, understanding assistive technology. Now we have an issue here. What is the H1? Is it section 1, understanding assistive technology? To me, it's all the H1, right? It's all of this. So I'm going to delete that part. And now heading level 1, section 1, understanding assistive technology. That makes much more sense, right? That goes there. And then let's get into this. So here we have, you can see whenever you have two lists in a row, it's almost always wrong. And in fact, we're missing the whole other part of this list. If we just cycle through this a bit to see if we can, gotta wait for it to catch up, to see if we can figure out if maybe it comes back later on. Because sometimes things just get jumbled up. The other way we can do this is we can go through and select this piece of text and say, hey, where is this in my tags tree? Find tag from selection. And it says, this tag wasn't found. So in fact, this information would be invisible to anyone using a screen reader. So we're going to fix that. All right. So this is our H2. And then this is our list. But really, these two lists should be one list. We're going to grab that up in there. And now we need to do some surgery, because we have this list, which is correct, this list item, which is correct, that one's correct, and part of that one's correct, but the rest of it is missing. So we need to have this L body selected, and then select all of that and go right click, create tag from selection. And that's going to put all of that L body in one tag. And now we need to create the missing ones. So we're going to need two LIs, an L body, and an LBLs. So we're going to call this one LI. This is case sensitive. You got to make sure that it's case sensitive. All right, so now we're going to put our list structure together. We need LI, LBL, L body. LBL, L body goes inside that LI. And then we'll leave them out of the list for now until we populate them. So our L body is just the bullet. Right click, R, and then we're going to artifact that. It's getting the tab that's associated with the space in between, but we don't want that. All right, so there's our there's our LBL, L body, right click R, L body, right click R. Right, so now we have proper LIs that go inside our list item, our L. So now this L is in fact all the technology. So this is one of those things where just because it doesn't pass a checker, you might say, oh, well, there's no real barrier. The content's all there. Here, the content clearly wasn't there. There literally was 2 paragraphs missing out of this key messages. And that's important content that someone deserves to know, right? All right. All right, I'm going to do the rest kind of on hyperspeed, so just sit back and watch what's going on.